So today it's an honor to be here with you. It's an honor to be with you guys watching. Thank you for joining the Global Child Podcast. On this episode, I'm very proud to bring you Paul Taunton. Not only is he a wonderful CEO of BIG, he's also one of my mentors and somebody that I really look up to. If you've ever seen Global Child, and I'm sure hopefully you have, when we are wearing the amazing jackets, the hats, the t-shirts, when we do giveaways, it's all thanks to BIG that creates that merchandise, not only for us, but for some of the top brands around the world. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about BIG. What are you guys doing and what do you do for clients around the world?
Well, we're a branding agency. And so, branding is a really broad term. But, so if you want billboards or radio advertising, things like that, that's not our jam. But if you want to talk about the textiles, how to place your logo, how to, we also have employee engagement. So it's really a combination of both. But we're a branding agency, and we brand everything.
That's great. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you guys, Paul, today, and this really is a treat, it's because in Global Child, we travel, but we also have purpose. And purpose requires a bunch of people, companies, and people of generosity to come around you to make it happen. Yeah. So how did you get to where you are today? Let's start at the very beginning. I know it's a very broad question,
Sure.
But tell me a little bit about your upbringing, where you're from, and how you got here today.
We came up from, low middle income. My mom was a school teacher. My dad worked in a grocery store, and 7 kids. I have a twin brother, so we're the youngest of 7.
7.
Yeah,
that's a lot of kids.
It's a busy house, trust me. And so, what my dad grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. So he just a worker, just a solid man, honest, Southern accent. I mean, everybody loves him. But he instilled work ethic in all of us. And my mom was just a steady force, just sweet as honey, just a total Betty Crocker. And she was just an amazing mother. She wasn't outspoken, but when she did say something, it was substantive. Mm-hmm. And so growing up in that environment, my dad put us to work at a young age. So that work ethic, it didn't matter if you were popping popcorn or if you were carrying people's groceries out to their car. You were working. It wasn't even an option. And you had to play sports and you had to do things. So, he kept us busy. And so that segued, into basically, going to college, figuring out what do I want to do when I grow up. And, I've had 2 lives. The first life I had, I got a small business loan and for $35,000, and I opened up a retail store. Because playing sports my whole life, I said, you know what, I can sell athletic footwear and I think I can sell athletic apparel. Mm-hmm. I got a small business loan, opened a store in a dumpy little mall. I was the only employee for the first 8 months. and what's crazy, just by the grace of God, over the next 14 years, built the largest privately held athletic footwear company in the U.S. called Athletic Fitters. I ended up selling that company to Foot Locker. Mm-hmm. And I remember flying into New York and going to Manhattan, and and the sale happened, and I'm still a young guy, right? I'm still a young guy. I opened my first store when I was 22, and I'm kind of walking around Manhattan, right? And I'm trying to just kind of pinching myself, like what just happened, and how do you encore that? Mm-hmm. And so after about 3-4 years after that, I said, well, you know what? I want to take that vocation. I'm done with retail, but I want to take that vocation and I want to apply it into corporate America. I want to make an impact to businesses. I want to work with businesses. So that's how I thought of the name. Literally, I just sat down one day and said, okay, I want to work with businesses. I want to impact them. And then I said, okay, business, impact, and then group. So I said, wow, I really love it because I really love the acronym BIG. Maybe someday we'll grow into our pants and we could be recognized as BIG. Mm-hmm. And here we are, 21 years later, BIG is working with some of the most recognized brands in the U.S. And like I said, it's such an amazing journey, and it's just by the grace of God that you're put in the right place at the right time. You're able to influence your employees and really make a difference outside of maybe the street that your headquarters is positioned.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And I always, speak about faith. And I like to say that man's coincidence is God's evidence. And then he leaves you space to decide. And so speaking about Business Impact Group, we at Global Child, our charitable arm, our 501c3, is literally called Big Foundation,
Right.
BIG. And so I have a business partner named Peter, and this is Paul. They're
Yeah.
twin brothers, right? So
Yeah.
Faith, Peter, and Paul.
Disciples,
then he has
right.
BIG. We have BIG. It's like, oh, come on. It's almost like you guys need to work out together, So, okay. So obviously you covered a lot of ground, but I like to give people handles to give them inspirations and let's say a guide or a path for them to follow. So when you took that leap to get that first initial loan, I think a lot of people, they don't go after their dreams because they say, I don't have the resources. But I also started a Global Child with a selfie stick and no money. And I think a lot of these big success stories is when people choose to see what do you have rather than what are you lacking. So what was the thought process when you just took that leap to get that first loan?
Well, to be completely honest with you, for me in my life, it was fear-based because I gravitated towards something that I thought that I knew. I thought that, I played sports my whole life. I know the footwear that athlete needs to wear on the field or on the court or whatever it might be. And so for me, that was the first box I needed to check. Does it speak to me? Mm-hmm. The second was, is there a need? Is there a need in the market? Is the market forgiving enough to allow a young entrepreneur wannabe to be able to enter the space and skin their knees a few times? And lucky for me, the industry was forgiving. Mm-hmm. When I opened my first resale store, there wasn't like health club chains all over the U.S. There wasn't even computers, and so timing is everything in life. Mm-hmm. And so that for me, that was my inspiration. Was first thing, do I love it? Do I see myself doing it? Is there a need for it? And you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other and have confidence. And there was many sleepless nights I had, for sure.
And what would keep you up at night?
I remember understanding how I had to buy more inventory because if I sold something, I had to replace it. I got empty walls. Mm-hmm. And just doing the math on how much money do you need to make when you sell a pair of shoes to pay the lights, put food on your table, and buy another pair of Nikes to sell to a customer. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, man, I got to sell a lot of shoes. Yes. I got to sell a lot of T-shirts. And it seemed daunting, but, it didn't stop me. Mm-hmm. It didn't stop me. I just kept committed, and I was, like I said, I was the only employee for the first 6-8 months. Mm-hmm. I'd opened that store from ding to dong. And, for a young guy in their 20s to commit to that in their life, when most people are out having a good time, it was a real wake-up call. It was a real, testament to setting me up who I am as an individual today.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you worked it for so many years, a little bit more than a decade, and then you had that big sale, what are some of the core guiding principles that allowed you to take it from this seed to a tree that was able to be sold? I know it's a loaded question, but if for somebody who's watching and perhaps they're starting their own business or dreaming of doing so, yeah. what would you say to them as advice?
Well, I mean, it's all industry specific, obviously. And the industry that I chose, I mean, back when I opened my first store, Nike was maybe a $500 million company, not a $20 billion company. Mm. And I remember I had a store and I had a store for a few years, and all of a sudden wearing athletic shoes became a lifestyle. So that was the kid that had 3 or 4 pair of tennis shoes in their closet, and that's what they wore to school. That's what they wore on Friday night. That was the fashion. Mm-hmm. And so the industry just got shot out of a rocket, and all of a sudden you found new brands being formed overnight like Reebok and the categories became broad. And I had 3-4 years of a vocation of the industry. So for me, I leaned into it. I just leaned into it. I put everything I had into more inventory, and every penny of profit went back into growth. There was nothing. I lived in a little tiny condo, and I mean, I drove around a little Blazer, S10 Blazer to visit stores. I mean, I was driving 50, 60,000 miles a year visiting stores. And that's what you need to do. You need to be hungry, not entitled. And you've got to be able to understand when an opportunity is knocking and you have to seize the opportunity.
Right. Yes. Really. Yeah. Opportunity sometimes does come once in a lifetime.
Sure does. Right.
All right. So now you do end up creating a business impact group, and that is a challenge in and of itself. Obviously, now you have a lot of experience, but you have to change roles. So what do you think was the biggest challenge in just changing roles from footwear to a larger company?
Well, I can tell you this. In running a retail company, I had 3,500 employees, and we had over 100 locations, and the dynamics are different, and the pressures are different. I can tell you that when I caught my breath after selling athletic fitters to Foot Locker, I was able to catch my breath for 3 or 4 years and kind of level set. I'm a much better CEO president today at BIG than I was running the retail company. I'm so much more chill and have so much more experience that I can fall back on. I don't sweat everything. You know, my team members say, "Man, Paul, you're crazy. You don't get too high, you don't get too low. You're just It doesn't matter if we land the biggest customer in the country. You're just steady. And my approach to that is that if you do the right things, we expect to onboard clients. I expect that. And I expect that there's going to be challenge and adversity. I think we're in a contractual business. It's 2 to 3, 4, 5 years contracts that could be up for renew. But but that's what I would say is, the difference is that transition. It's that whole experience.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the purpose piece, right? Because I'm always a firm believer that if all you have is money, then you're one of the poorest people in the world. And there's a very big difference between significance and just success as most of the people would define it, right? Yeah. But something that I love about you and about the company that you run is that you guys are very charitable. Even off the record, off the camera, he's like, I don't want to be tooting my own horn and talking about all the good that I do. But I told Paul, I'm like, it's important because it can hopefully inspire you guys to give back. And so what are some of the give back components that you guys do at BIG?
Well, first of all, we don't segment. I have a soft spot in my heart for children. Always have, right? I mean, when they draw the short straw, that breaks my heart. So some of the things that we do are very specific, and that's that we're very hands-on. What a lot of companies don't realize is that when you allow your workforce to participate in the charity, in the cause, it fills their heart. It fills the halls in your corporate headquarters. They feel like they're part of a bigger thing other than just a W-2 that they get at the end of the year. It fills their heart because you're giving them an opportunity. But when I say the things that we do, we put fresh water in wells in Africa because one of my guys that picked orders in the warehouse was from Ghana. And they carried water for 5 miles every day to and from dirty water to their village. So we dredged a pipeline in and brought fresh water to them. We also we built them a school, a place that they could worship or get married. They had no latrines. We put in bathrooms. Feels good, and when we do that, we're done. Like we don't need any praise. We're off to the next thing. And just a few years ago, we did. There was a elementary school from grades kindergarten through 8th grade that was everybody in the school is poverty stricken. There was poverty. We gave every student in that school a brand new winter jacket because it's cold in Minnesota. And so my employees are there. I mean, it was great. I brought like 25 of our employees. They get the cutest little kids. They come in, just in marching like single file, and they pick out their jacket that they like. And we take a Sharpie and we write their name on the inside pocket so they don't get confused, back when they go back to the room. And some of these kids had never owned a new winter jacket in their life. And it's so simple. It's so simple for corporations to be what I call corporately responsible. it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if you're giving meals. I don't care if you're giving jackets, if you're putting fresh water in, if you're paying for somebody for graduation gown because they didn't have $25. We've done it all. I have my ear to the ground. The things that fall through the cracks are the ones that I love to get involved with. I'm not a big fan of just writing a check to a big charity. Mm-hmm. I would much rather be hands-on. So I know that 100% of our check is going towards that cause that we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like to say that a lot of times the difference between a villain and a philanthropist is just a small percentage of what you make. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
sure.
I say this a lot to my friends that are big CEOs and in rooms, obviously not on camera. And I'm saying, guys, you can't take it with you, right?
Right.
And so like when you give, the world smiles back. You change lives, you sleep better at night, you have purpose. Because there's always going to be lack in this world. And it doesn't matter how much money we accrue or success or influence. If some of that is not going towards making the world a better place, it becomes almost like, the difference between a river of living water and a cesspool is that one outflows and the other one just stays stagnant. No?
For sure, yeah.
So it's really cool. What can you say, for example, to people that perhaps are thinking, when I get to this number, then I'll start giving? Do you believe that people can start giving or doing or even donating their time wherever they are?
Yeah, I do. I think that once you understand how fulfilling it is to make a difference that's outside of your own circle, how fulfilling that is. Once that connects with you, it becomes it's something that it grows. You can keep building upon it, and that means whether it's monetarily, how much you give, or whether it's the direction of where you put your funds. There's a million good places. I think what's important is that you just get in the game. Mm-hmm. That I think it's a very selfish approach to life if you're just hoarding everything and thinking that you're the center of the universe. Mm-hmm. I think you need to be a complete person and a well-rounded person and a grounded person. I think you have to have grace and you have to be generous, and that means with your time, with your finances, with everything.
Mm-hmm. Now, when we met originally, you've done obviously some travel, but with the show, our conversations, you've been exploring some new places. So tell me a couple of the places that you've been traveling to that meant the most to you.
I went to Greece, yes. Yeah, and that was by your recommendation, yes. Right? And I went to Greece, flew into Athens, and then went to Santorini, and Santorini was just absolutely gorgeous. And then we went from Santorini to Mykonos, mm-hmm. and we took the fast ferry boat over. Mm-hmm. It was just a great experience. I'd never been. I thought the energy, the people, everything about the trip was just exceeded my expectation. It was great. Yeah, I loved it. That was my favorite. Probably my second one was going to Africa. Mm-hmm. Going to touring the Serengeti. Yes. Seeing wildlife in their natural habitat was a real treat too.
Yeah. The world is so beautiful because at that point, it's subjective, right? They're all unique and beautiful in their own way. I want to say a quick shout out to my friend George Astra from Astra Suites in Santorini.
Right.
Right.
Yes,
I believe you guys stayed there.
I did.
I go there every year as soon as I get a chance because it's magnificent. And so and then obviously for the Serengeti, Tasa Lodge.
Yeah. Right.
Of course, Tasa is amazing. So if you guys want to check out either of those experiences, we'll put some of the links here in the comments. All right. So what does the future have in store? Because again, now you continue to grow. You help businesses, even like our own with Global Child Travel and Purpose. Sure, yeah. You really helped us with, for example, what BIG did. And I like it because I'm an example of you guys' expertise. So we had a logo. And when we came to you with the idea of a clothing line, you not only designed it, developed it, helped us to choose the right items. All the items are quality, they were great.
Right.
But then you readapted our logo to be circular because we were just a word.
Right.
And you created this beautiful patch that I hadn't even considered before.
Sure.
So do you do that for a lot of different clients, like give them a better, let's say, brand and identity?
We do. I mean, I always say that revenues follows creativity, and one of the things that when we work with our corporate clients, just like when we were working with you, We look at the logo, we look at the brand, we look at the garment, the product that we're putting it on, and we say, hey, what's a new, fresh way of embellishing a product? And that particular jacket that you're speaking about it lent itself to be a really cool application for a patch. And something where the patch is sealed on the jacket. The patch is very vibrant. The embroidery stitch count is tight. So no matter how many times you wash it, no matter that jacket and that logo is going to look like $1 million. And that's literally exactly how we go about it. Is how's it going to weather? How's it going to look? Does it really accentuate the brand? And so that's we love that whole journey, and we collaborate with the client. Some clients are very rigid, and other clients like you, you say, you know what, we're kind of rigid, but you know what, we love that idea. Let's do it.
Yeah. And those jackets are amazing, the whole clothing brand. And what's really been amazing is that sometimes you don't know what you don't know. Right, especially as a young entrepreneur.
I say that all the time. Right?
You don't know what you don't know. Right. And so once you guys created those jackets, I remember the first time we started wearing them, and I would give it to my co-host, and now Miss Universe is wearing it, and this person's wearing it, and suddenly it's like, oh wow, it just elevated the entire production, right?
For sure.
Because versus wearing some other random brand, now also because of the level of design and the quality, it looks like a superhero uniform.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And so suddenly, like, just the brand identity just goes up 10x.
It totally does. It totally does. Now it just raises your whole the whole perception of your brand is it just speaks to it. Versus like you said, just for everybody wearing the regular streetwear, now they're wearing your brand, and which means they're supporting your brand, and that's what it's all about. It's all about brand elevation.
Well, now as we start wrapping it up, then tell me a little bit, who is Paul Taunton? For example, I know you're a competitor. You were a racquetball champion, so you've been an athlete. You've run successful businesses multiple times. But at the core, who are you? What are you about? What do you love?
Yeah, life is a journey, right? And here's what I try to be. Okay, and I'm an imperfect man, but here's where I try to be. I try to be humble. I try to be kind. I try to be conscious. I'm really working hard at that. Think before you talk, and just I'm no better than anybody else. And I just want to live a happy, fulfilled life. As simple as that sounds. I don't have a huge punch list. I've lived a very blessed life, and I'm appreciative of that. And now it's just about enjoying, the journey and the fruits of the labor and making a difference out there.
Do you think your faith helped you in the difficult moments when there were really big challenges?
Oh man, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, some of the adversity and challenges that I've dealt with. I mean, my friends say you could write a book, and whether it be in personal life or in business life, if I didn't have my faith, I would be a complete wreck. I mean, seriously, because that's what keeps you grounded.
Yeah,
keeps you centered.
It's true. It's true. Life happens to all of us.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna go through challenges no matter what, and we're always either on a mountaintop, on our way to a valley, or we're in a valley. Unfortunately, we're not going to stay there because we're going up to a mountaintop.
Yeah.
And to me, I always welcome everyone. I like to say you don't have to believe to belong. Obviously, we're both Jesus followers, and but it's very important, I think, to have the fruit of our life also reflect the faith that we profess to have.
Yeah, I mean, my spiritual journey has been amazing. I'm focusing on it a lot, over in the last few years. But just trusting in the universe, what will be, and that's helped. We want to think we're in control, but we're not in control. And when you can surrender to that, that God has a plan, the universe has a plan. And they want you to be happy. They want the very best for you, always. So it's onward and upward. And so what times when you're in that valley like you talked about and it feels like punishment and it hurts and it's hard to accept because you're so vested. And and you just and sometimes when you power through it, 6 months later, all of a sudden you're in a completely different experience. And you just have to trust in that because all of a sudden, wow, you're happier than you've ever been. All the pieces of the puzzle are in place. You're fulfilled. It's just amazing, the journey of life, isn't it?
Yeah. And I always think, it's when difficult things happen to me, I'm sure you're probably the same. My first reaction is to think, why did this happen? And then once I calm down and I change my frame, I ask myself, okay, what am I supposed to be learning? And so because why did this happen doesn't really change it, right? The pain's still there. But what am I supposed to learn from this? And once you discover the lesson, suddenly your pain has purpose, right? And then there's power in that, and you're able to advance and now start the proverbial climb up the mountain
right.
again.
You're well said, because that's exactly how I approach it now. And I didn't always, but I certainly have as of late. Is that okay? What can I take away from that? There's a lesson in this pain. There's a lesson, and make sure that you understand what that lesson is, and that you can grow from it. And so that's interesting you say that, because that's exactly my approach.
So as we land this plane, we want to thank everybody for joining us today. Where would you like to be 10 years from now for yourself and for BIG?
Right now at BIG, we're focused on just onboarding new clients, building more relationships. So between now and the next 10 years, I see doing more of that. I really enjoy watching. I have about 150 employees in this company, and I really enjoy watching their evolution. They buy homes, they start families, so I'm enjoying being in the front row seat of just watching that, just growing the company, because I love growing things, and then watching people evolve.
That's wonderful. At the church that I go to, VU Church, our pastor always says, healthy things grow. So the focus is not about making things big necessarily, but making them healthy. And when you make something healthy, it grows.
It sure does. Right,
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Well, I want to invite everybody, of course, to connect with Paul. He's great on social media. Obviously, I hope you do write that book one day, because
right.
I think there's a lot more to tell. I'm going to put you on the spot,
Right,
let us know when the release is
Have to have a
happening.
ghostwriter, maybe.
Yeah, and with Global Child, of course, you can see us on every major streaming platform. We're going to keep giving. We're going to keep doing good and inspiring, thanks to audiences like you that take time to hear us. So thank you for being here today, and we will see you on the journey.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Augusto.